Good afternoon now. Thank you again for joining us for the next installment of Philly Youth Vote Takes Over Studio C70 here in Philadelphia as we prepare for the November 3rd general election. This afternoon we have students from Mr. Quinn and Ms. Kim's class at Central High School, and they are interviewing Mr. Amin Brown, a candidate for the 190th State House District here in Philly. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Kim to introduce the students and start a dialogue.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown. Thank you so much for joining us. Our students are really excited to ask you some tough questions. And again, we're from Central High School, 12th grade social science class. And Mr. Brown, would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself before we get into the questions?
Yes. Well, first and foremost, I want to say I am honored to be, on the Zoom with you guys. Part of my background is in early childhood education and education. I believe my history of who I am, it evolved from wanting to be an educator, and then that put me right into heavy community involvement. So I'm just I'm just excited to be on this call with you guys, with some of the youth, our future. So youth matter. So I'm excited, and I'm ready to get this thing rolling with these tough questions.
So. Great. So let's hear from our first student.
Why did you want to be a state legislator?
So, I don't know if you guys know, I'm not going to get into the details of the history of West Philadelphia in this House seat, but we had some ups and downs, and myself being a lifelong resident of the 190th, and being heavily involved in the community, when the seat became available, I put my name in the hat for a special election back in March of 2019. I came second out of 4 or 5 candidates. And then, it was a strategic move to prepare myself for the June primary, which was 12, 13 months later. And, the community, they were on me. They're like, Amin, we need someone who will be transparent. We need consistency. We need someone who is going to represent us well, and we need change. And the community, which includes several community organizations, several ethnic backgrounds, young people, older people. And, I decided to take a leap of faith and say, you know what, let's give it a shot. And then we made it work. And I'm here for the long haul. But being a legislator, I believe that it takes someone who has actually been through majority of what that district represents. So the 190 includes incarcerated, people who, single parent families, single parent homes, went through the Philadelphia public school system, anything you can imagine. And I am a person who I've been incarcerated. I've been a victim of gun violence. I have been through the shelter system. I've been homeless. And now I am a successful entrepreneur. So I've seen a little bit of both sides. I've been at a lot of different tables with, some of the strongest people in the state, and some of the less fortunate people in our community. So I've seen both sides. And so that's what I bring to the table. I understand what West Philly is experiencing because I lived it. So that's why I'm here as your possible legislator for the 190th.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I was curious. It's a more of a hard-hitting question, but how do you think you're going to advance the efforts made by the Black Lives Matter movement, especially during these times, and how just crazy it's been getting? I was curious as to what you plan on doing for it.
So first and foremost, I plan on doing a lot of listening and and being that positive role model in the Black and Brown community. I think that's where I'm going to start. Because you can't run around chanting Black Lives Matter when you don't lead by example. So I want to be, or I'm going to be that example of a positive Black life, and show people why we matter. Because there's a large group of people saying it, but we need more people actually, showing people that we matter. And West Philadelphia, we have corners filled with young African American youth that are, gang warring with each other. You can't say Black Lives Matter when we're committing crimes against black on black people. So I have been having conversations with large groups of African American males, and I'm going to continue having these conversations to let them know, like, there is something more out here. But being that positive role model for Black and Brown people, that's where I'm going to start.
Now, just real quick, is there anything that the Black youth can do, something that we can do to help with the Black Lives Matter movement?
Yes, just staying in communication. I am 100% positive that everyone, on this call, or people that are listening, or people that you encounter, know someone who at some given time are not doing the right thing. So just that positive encouragement, and being that positive figure in their life, that goes a long way. And leading by example. We're in a time where a lot of people are paying attention to how you move and what you say, what you do not say. Us as Black and Brown people, I do believe that we're becoming more educated on what's going on around us. So as young people, be involved as much as you can with whatever positive movement that you're invited to or that you're included in. Just remember, people are watching, and lead by example.
All right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Hi, I was wondering what you plan to do to reduce gun violence in Philadelphia.
Oh, what I plan to do to reduce gun violence. So like, as I stated earlier, I am a victim of gun violence. So I know what it feels like on multiple different levels. I know what it feels like to have a parent who experienced a child being shot. I was on 56 and Market when my friend and I were involved in I guess it would call like a run-by shooting. And I got shot in my back. Excuse me. And so, being embedded in the community as much as I am, you hear and you know certain things that the average person will not know. So there's a strong chance that I might be using those insights to make sure certain things get done in these communities. Like, for example, where guns are possibly might be coming from, or where they're being kept, where they're being sold, things in that nature. But just my upbringing and the people that I know, and the respect that I get in and throughout the Philadelphia community, is going to play a large role in how effective my input is in reducing gun violence. Not saying it happened overnight, but we're definitely going to try.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So if it's back to you, Shad.
It is. You're right. Sorry. I was curious. How do you plan on reopening schools during this COVID crisis, if it even like is possible? What do you plan on doing for it?
So I'm all for reopening schools, but the schools need to be COVID safe. And it's just, I feel like it's going to be physically impossible to reopen them because of the 6 foot distancing for social distancing. Typically in a Philadelphia school, you might have 26 to 30 children in the classroom. It's like, how do you now take that same population, that same capacity, and include everyone in the classroom? It's just physically impossible. So you might have 26 to 30 children, but now you can only legally fit 6 to 12 in the classroom because of social distancing. So it's like, where do you put the remainder of the children? You can't, it just doesn't make any sense. And we just need to find ways to make sure that if the schools do open back up, we do it the right way. I don't have an answer on how they plan on doing it because there's so many different levels and so many different people involved in making that final decision. And everyone feels different about reopening the schools. But we just need to do it the safest way as possible. Online school is tough. I have 2 young children, and it's different. I believe school in-person teaching, it goes it's more effective, and it's the way it should be, because it's not just about teaching children what's in the books, but it's also is children find who they are being interactive with different children, and you find yourself at a young age, and so in-person teaching is always best. But hopefully, I will have that seat at the table in the very near future to get my input on reopening. But it's not just my decision. There's going to have to be some common ground on how we do it and when we do it. But right now, with the spike in COVID cases, I don't see it happening, and I don't believe we're prepared for that right now, because you cannot control social distancing in people's homes, and when the children are in public. It's just tough, and we got to be able and ready to have a transparent conversation about, are we ready? And I don't believe we are.
All right, thank you.
Hi. So, as kind of piggybacking off of what Shad said, taking into consideration the major changes needed to be made in schools due to the pandemic, what is your plan to increase school funding budget in the state, and how to distribute those funds equitably?
So that's one of the tough questions you're talking about. But yeah, so as we all know, I am relatively new to all of this. But through my current experiences and conversations and traveling the state, meeting with several different reps, especially on like education committees and things in that nature, I'm finding out where the pockets of money are, finding out where waste is. So for my first year, I'm going to be doing a lot of that to find out where the money is, where the waste is, and finding better places to put the waste. And of course, it needs to go into the education budget to increase the funding for our school districts. Once I learn more about, where to find the money and how to increase the funding, because I don't have a direct answer for that right now. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a lot of listening. I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur with a heart, and I love the youth. So I'm definitely going to fight for more funding for public schools. but yeah, so it's all about educating myself and being transparent with my colleagues. Like, listen, it doesn't make sense for us to spend X amount on just say, I don't know. It doesn't make sense for us to spend tens of millions of dollars on, I'm just saying this just to say it for example purposes, but on recycling when we have an education system that needs $10 million or whatever, or additional funding. And those are just examples, so don't hold me to that. But yeah, so I am a strong budget guy, and I follow the money, and I'm be transparent about about what Philadelphia cares about, and the main thing being education.
To follow up on that, you mentioned you had a background in education. So in your experience, where do you think that funding would be best served in schools?
Where? Technology. I understand that technology is the future, and I believe that our schools need to be more, they need to include more education on technology. I know other school districts outside of Philadelphia, everything is electronic. Children take home laptops, tablets, things in that nature, because technology is going to be one of the main components about how we live our life, especially when our young people now, 10, 15 years from now, technology is going to be king. Right now, it's like technology is the prince, but in the near future, it'll be the king. So technology, safety, and bringing back like the social worker side, the counselors, mental health. Our school system is lacking those things. We need to pay more attention to evaluating our children. So we need to spend more time and money on understanding our children all have different learning types. Like I mentioned earlier, you might have 28 kids in a classroom, but everyone is they have different learning styles. So we can't just cater toward one. Our teachers need to be trained to cater, majority of the classroom, or we got to separate them or something like that. Like I myself, I'm a hands-on learner. Like I need to see it, and I need something tangible. Just hearing it, just telling me 1 + 1 = 2 ain't gonna get it. I need to know, how we get there physically. So those are some of the main things I need. I think the funding should go.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, considering that you have a background as an educator and you seem to really care about the youth, what do you plan to do about climate change, which will affect the youth?
Oh, hey, well, another tough question. I don't. So what I plan on doing, that's really not one of my expertise. That is not one of my lanes, but I would definitely look into that. And that conversation, I was a part of one conversation that involved climate change. Being born and raised in West Philadelphia, that wasn't something that was not, that was something that wasn't in my daily activities or part of my conversation. But like I said, in order for me to be an effective legislator, I have to be a great listener, and listen to everything and not exclude, conversations. But I do believe in the state of Pennsylvania, we do have some experts, and I'm going to lean on hard and say, hey, listen, this is what is impacting my community. This is what is impacting our environment. And we need to have these conversations with my community. I need you to come meet with our folks and hear how we feel about it, because it is not about what Almond Brown is trying to do or what Almond Brown needs to do. It is us as a collective. I'm going to be representing a large part of the state so we're all in this together, so we need to come up with ideas and solutions about all the issues that we care about. So if that's something that, the youth is for, and then they want to be involved in, then I'm all for it. I am a great representative of the youth. That's where my heart is. But yeah, but I do believe the state of PA, we have some great experts, and we have access to some deep scientists. So if they're in the room, I'll definitely have some questions, and I will ask that question. So I'm going to make a mental note of that, so I can relay that message.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi. So considering that youth is a big part of your campaign, why is it important for young people to vote?
So, a lot of young people I hear throughout my travels throughout the district and throughout the state. I hear a lot of the same things of voting isn't going to change anything, or my vote ain't going to count. When I was young, I felt that way. Excuse me. But, throughout, I want to say 2000, I believe it was 2010, when I became a super voter. And a super voter is someone who doesn't miss elections. I think I have a great voting history. And so now being someone that get voted for, I've been on both sides. I've been, not caring about voting, and now I care a whole lot about voting because I understand the process. So my message to young people about the importance is, at some point in your youth life, while you're young, or your parents, it involves some kind of government or government assistance, and that's all tied into voting. So when we vote in the people who have the same interests or care what we stand for, it's all hand in hand. So you can't say voting ain't doing nothing for me, but your mother is on Medicaid, Medicare, welfare, or some kind of subsidy. So educating the young people is key. When I was young, no one was telling me that they were all hand in hand. So it's my responsibility when I'm speaking to let young people know, like, listen, you would not be able to be where you are today if it wasn't for these programs. Your access to these programs is through voting, and educating yourself on the benefits of voting. But the candidates play a large part in that. We need to stop saying, "Oh, vote for me, and I'll set you free," and spend a lot of time on actually sitting down and having these conversations. Like, look, this is what politics is. This is what voting touch, and just have all the different branches of government, whether it's local, state, federal, and educating them on your parents been through, what your parents benefit from it, and it all affects you as a young person. And I'm seeing that a lot of our young people are getting more involved in the protest, and it's beautiful. And so I'm just hoping that we all take that same energy and vote, because voting matters and protests matter as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. I think we have a little bit more time. If students have other questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. And I think we're going to go to Paige first with a bonus question. But yeah, let us know in the chat if there are other questions out there. Go ahead, Paige.
Hi. So my question is, what do you plan to do to support the LGBT community, especially young LGBT as conversations around things like the gay panic defense law and conversion therapy become more prominent in our country.
So you kind of broke up on the last couple words.
What do you plan to do to support and protect the LGBT community, especially young LGBTs, in light of conversations surrounding things like the gay panic defense law and conversion therapy in our country?
Okay, so I'm gonna start off this answer by, just being completely transparent. I'm going to offer them a seat at the table. I think we need to start there. From my experience and now myself being in certain rooms, in certain environments, that group of people are not included. They need to be included in our daily conversations because they matter as well. And I think giving them a seat at the table would implement a tremendous change, and they need to be included. I think that will go a long way, and that's the base of really bringing some change. So I would start there, and the laws that you mentioned, I really don't know about them. But me personally, I love everybody. I don't judge people, whether you black, white, brown, green, gay, straight. I treat everybody equal. And as the possible future rep for West Philly, we will include everyone. We are not going to say, "Oh no, we're not going to discriminate." We're going to give the LGBTQ community a seat at all tables, especially if I'm involved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's go to Shad. Go ahead.
Hey, so I had just found out like a couple minutes ago that my place of work, Chick-fil-A, it had just got looted and robbed during the lootings last night. So I was kind of curious, what's like your opinion? I don't even know what I'm really trying to ask. I'm sorry, but like, what's your opinion on just like, I guess, violent protestings, and how do you plan on, like, I guess, minimizing it, or just like, I guess that goes back to my question from before about the Black Lives Matter movement, but like, how do you plan on just like making sure that everyone is safe and okay?
So I don't support looting. I do not support that. I support protests, peaceful protests. I do not support rioting. I strongly believe that all the looters, or what they call looters, they're opportunists, and they're a group of people who are just taking advantage of tragedies. I experienced last night, like, I live in West Philly, and we were hit the hardest for the second time. Our entire 52nd Street small business corridor has been affected. 52nd and Parkside, where we have a shopping center that it took us 14 years to fund, has been damaged again. So we're going to have to rebuild. All the stores will be shut down. Our communities are boarded up. Buildings are burnt down. A lot of stolen cars are still blocking the middle of streets. So I do not condone it at all. That is not how we move our agenda forward. Looting and rioting is not the way. Peaceful protests, that's how you move your agenda forward. And that's how you express what you care about and how we get things done. But my message to the looters is you just gotta do the right thing. And people are like, well, Amin, how come you're not out here? Because I'm not a looter. Let the looters go out there and loot. I'm going to sit inside and I'm going to keep my family safe, because there's nothing that an elected official can do when people are out terrorizing and tearing up our communities. And And the sad part is, well, one of the extra sad parts is that these are people from other cities and states that are coming to take advantage of what we're experiencing. Walter Wallace was killed in West Philadelphia. And as soon as it happened, you had people who were mourning and preparing for protests. And then you had a large group of people that were preparing to loot. And now we're right around the corner from Halloween. So people had easy access to masks and things of that nature. They were covering up license plates and stealing cars, all putting a lot of time and energy into something negative. Just imagine if we put that same time and energy into coming together to start a business or clean up our communities, actually helping someone, volunteering at food banks. Our young people, we gotta pick and choose our battles, and looting is definitely not something that I support. I'm all for peaceful protests. I'll be on the front line. So. Did that answer your question, brother?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
We have another question in the chat. How did you know you wanted to be a part of the Democratic Party as opposed to the Republican Party or a third party?
Here we go with the tough questions, right? So complete transparency. I'll say years ago, I didn't know the difference between a Democrat or a Republican. And me personally, I want people to vote for me because of who I am. I believe that, I'm someone who cares about his community and who would do whatever it takes to make sure I move Black and brown people forward, and my community forward, and just people in general. So that's what I want people to vote for, and know that I'm going to be honest and upfront, and represent them well. And so with this Democrat and Republican piece, it takes both sides to get things done. And you have to understand the entire board. You have to understand that, like if the Republicans continue to be in the majority, you have to work with them to move your agenda forward. And if the Democrats take the majority, of course, things would be much easier to get our democratic bills and our beliefs put forth. But at the end of the day, we all have to unite. Because you're a Republican or independent doesn't mean I should hate you or not work with you. You're human. And I just think that we're in tough times, and we need to start setting those titles to the side and say, what do people need? How can we unite? How can we work together to help mass amounts of people? But yes, I am a lifelong Democrat. I grew up, my entire neighborhood, the city that I am, that I'm born and raised in, is Democrat. So to me personally, that's where the title came from. But I am for the people. I am people over politics all day, every day. And if you've been following my first special election race and my last primary race, my first primary race, you'll see that I have always been fighting for the people. And I just want us to win. I just want to do the most good I can with all my resources and my knowledge, and my ability to listen. Because to be a good leader, you need to be a good listener. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you should listen more than you speak. That is a direct message that everyone should understand. So I am willing to work with anyone to make sure we move our people forward, no matter your race, your gender, age, You know, I'm ready to us all. Did that answer your? Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Brown. Let's see, we maybe have time for a couple more. Another question from the chat. What is your stance on Roe v. Wade?
Oh, here we go. Good,
They're coming in hard.
they're coming in hard. So, so Roe v. Wade. Hold on. Got to, doing a little bit of digging. I support access to abortions. Yes. I am all, it's the women's body. They have control over their bodies. It's their decision.
Okay. One of our students was researching on your campaign website and came across your plan to increase the minimum wage in response to increasing costs for basic needs. And I think the question is specifically, to what extent would you increase the minimum wage or want to?
So, well, my background being in small business as well as education, for one, $15 even isn't enough. We need livable wages. That's what it is. $15 is not enough. It needs to be well over $15. So I'm going to be a person fighting for something greater than that. And like I said, being in a small business world, I understand what it takes to run a successful business, and having employees in the past making $7 an hour, $7.25 or $7.50. I understand what they're going through. It's like if in my childcare businesses, because I had daycares in the past, if the state they have a like a spreadsheet of how much is allocated for daycares per child. They have it broke down. So for example, if the average childcare facility gets paid $650 per child enrolled in your care, is then chopped up again by ratios. So then the state knows that if we're paying you $650 per child, but then you have to have one staff for every 4 children, that is, what's that? That's like $1,500, $1,400 that you make off of, that you need to, what is it, $1,400, $2,100, but then you have to cover that staffer salary, you have to cover your overhead and things of that nature. So then the business owner, there's no decent profit margins for the business owner. So I'm a person who understands if we're going to fight to increase minimum wages, I'm also going to be that person that fights for more support for small businesses. And that means increasing everything. You can't just increase the minimum wage without increasing several other aspects of what that involves and what it entails. So I'm the guy that's going to be at the table who understands both sides. So I'm going to be fighting for both sides, an increase of minimum wages, but then also understanding that as a business owner, we need increases as well. So we can't increase minimum wages until we increase what we're paying you for taking care of these children. So it needs to go from $650 to $1,050, and then we can afford to pay everybody. So I think that a lot of the pushback comes from that, from people, business owners, like, all right, well, if you want to increase minimum wages, then everything else that makes my business thrive needs to go up as well. Because it's all about the business owner making a profit, or whatever the entity is, making sure that their business is running smoothly. So, but $15 is not enough. I can't take care of myself off of $15 an hour. So I can't expect people in our communities to survive off that, especially in West Philadelphia. The average person have 2 young children minimum. We have families that are living in 2-bedroom apartments with 6 children. How do you expect them to live on $15 an hour? And then on top of that, it might be in a single family home. But I commend a lot of these large corporations for voluntarily increasing their minimum wage, their minimum pay to 15, but it's still not enough. So I'm a believer in, we have companies that want to come to our communities and say, I want to open up a Dollar General and I'm going to bring 300 jobs, but your 300 jobs are only going to pay $9 an hour. I'd rather you bring 150 jobs paying $18 an hour. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm that guy at the table who understands and is going to fight for the most. 300 jobs might sound like a lot, but you're paying 300 people $9 an hour. We're going to be in the same situation. So when Friday comes, I get paid. Saturday comes, I'm broke. And then I'm struggling for the rest of the week to come. And I'm borrowing from this person to do this and to do that. So we have someone at the table now who has been through a lot and understand both sides and who is willing to listen. That is key. Great questions, though.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Brown. This has been really informative and an exciting opportunity for our students. So just thank you so much for your time. Just a quick plug for our viewers who are watching. You can learn more about the other candidates in local races at the Committee of 70 website. The link is here. You can drop off your ballot at a satellite election office. This second link, and you can find your polling place at the third link below. And then check out some of our great organizations and Instagrams, Philly Youth Vote, Vote That John, and When Philly Votes. So again, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you. And please invite me anytime. In the next 3 to 6 months, I'll be able to give you as much information as I can. And again, thank you. This is a pleasure. And you are the future. So anything I can do to assist you, please just let me know.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.